Hello everyone and welcome to the Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Vorse. So amidst all the precautions and closures and end-of-the-world type hysteria, what have we learned, or in fact, what are we learning? Well, actually a lot. Much, in fact, is being exposed. Really exposed. Politically, culturally, and ecclesiastically. Politically, however deep any of us thought the swamp was, we have learned that we were wrong. It's actually much deeper than we ever thought. The Get Trump brigades are out in full force, with the Marxist media trying anything they can relate to tie Donald Trump to COVID-19. They're trying to dream up nicknames to pin the virus to him, calling it Corona Trump, Virus Trump, and a bunch of other stupid monikers. So far, none of them seem to be sticking, but it's blindingly obvious why they are doing it. So when November comes around, Trump loses. They hate him for being pro-life, and in their incorrect view, they see him as stacking the courts to dump abortion. So let's blame him for the virus. Likewise, we see the complete unrestrained response of the media to help whip up all this hysteria, causing people to run on grocery stores, for example. No one is saying there isn't a danger and people shouldn't take reasonable precautions, but to keep broadcasting non-stop the latest death numbers, updating them non-stop, it's reminiscent of the days of the Vietnam War and the nightly network newscasts. But for Catholics in particular, what are we learning, or rather confirming here, is what we've already seemed to know for quite a while, that too few bishops have any supernatural faith, or if they do, it's only a tiny amount, completely insufficient for the sacred office they hold, and that's the point. Look, Your Excellencies, either this is the Armageddon experience you're all portraying it as, or it's not. If it is, where are all your spiritual aids, your assists to the faithful? Why aren't each of you doing daily live streaming of praying the rosary, teaching your flock the rosary, comforting your sheep by sitting in front of a webcam in a studio and reading something of the lives of the saints? Shall we go on? Our guess is, while you have shut up nearly all the churches, that you haven't closed down the legal teams and the bean counters and so forth in your employ. For once, publish a letter saying you're closing the chanceries and not the churches. Are you using the opportunity to speak to so many of your flock locked up behind closed doors to teach them the catechism that you have been so neglectful about for the past half-century? Almost every day in this crisis, Church Militant is sending out a spiritual reinforcement email with various assists to remind people about fortitude and perseverance and prayer. You can easily follow suit, Your Excellencies. It's not that hard, especially since you don't really have anything else to do until all of this comes to an end. Most of you are old, out-of-shape men with probably a variety of underlying health issues. Are you all self-quarantined? Have you canceled your meetings with millionaire donors in your dioceses who you schmooze with? How about the CPAs and the lawyers and the marketing guys running your expensive multi-zillion-dollar fundraising campaigns where you lie to the faithful and fleece the flock? Have you canceled any of those activities? Well, have you? Yeah, we didn't think so. Before the parish doors were barred shut, many of you took the opportunity to forbid Holy Communion on the tongue. At least many of them thought a chance to kill that medieval practice and blame it on something out of your control, right? None of them have confessed that the practice of receiving in the hand, drinking from the cup, and lay people distributing Holy Communion was smuggled into the church 500 years ago during the Protestant Revolt precisely as a way to kill belief in the real presence. See, the very first Protestants were actually baptized Catholics who did at one time believe in the real presence. But the Protestant revolutionaries had to knock that belief out of the box. So they started these practices to weaken the faith of those first former Catholics. And the same thing has happened here in the U.S. as well as other parts of the world, with the move by various bishops starting in the 1970s to install the disrespectful practice and embed it in the minds of the faithful. Not a big shock that homosexual Satanist Cardinal Joseph Bernardine was the one leading the charge nationally, a topic Church Militant has covered extensively in our series, Case Files, one of our Church Militant premium programs where we get into all the nitty-gritty of how this has all come about. You can click on the link below to see how it all played out.
In the NCCB in the 70s, the strongest of these pressure groups was the so-called Bernardin Machine. This collective of like-minded bishops took its name from Joseph Cardinal Bernardin, who was president of the NCCB from 1974 to 1977, and the infamous Chicago Machine, a Democratic political outfit in Cook County, Illinois. This organization was famous for graft, bribery, and behind-the-scenes deals, but also for getting things done. It was a perfectly appropriate nickname for the group of bishops Joseph Bernardin, then only an archbishop, not cardinal, used to railroad through communion in the hand during the 1970s.
How many bishops are using the COVID crisis as an opportunity to bone up on all of this, to learn the real history of where their dioceses are falling apart? 70% of Catholics don't believe in the real presence. 70%. So all of this could be easily viewed as our Lord withdrawing access to himself. Just saying. You know, if the New York Times can openly speculate, recklessly, that 270 million Americans are going to be infected, then why can't we posit a more sober and serious reflection? The church is in a state of disrepair, broken down by decades of lying, cheating, greedy, homosexual, cover-up bishops who themselves don't seem to believe in the real presence, judging by their cowardice to deal with heretics on the political scene. So, just as God withdrew himself from the temple in the Old Testament, who's to say he isn't doing something similar right now, trying to send a message this Lent? Whether the bishops have any supernatural faith left to be able to read the signs of the times, well, many of these men vote for and support the party of death. You do the math. God love you. I'm Michael Voris.